Greetings, friends, and welcome to another ministry of the Victory Hour here on YouTube. We're glad that you made your way here. My name's Jim Gallagher. I'm the pastor at Clayville Assembly in Forster, Rhode Island, and welcome to our YouTube channel. Well, look, I got to do this recording as quickly as I can, only because I'm just running short on time, but I'm sorry, but I've got to interrupt my little series just for one day, just for today. Just going to interrupt my series. That's okay. I have the right to do that. I'm going to do it. I don't care. Because I need to do that. For one day. I got to interrupt for one day. We're going to go back next time to Satan no longer exists. And all the people can cry from morning till evening. That can't be. Look at the evil in the world. Well, we'll talk more about that. And I'll give you more proof from the Bible. Yes, I will. So we're going to do that. I'm eager to do it. But look, sometimes you just got to let off a little steam. Sometimes you got to open up the pressure release valve, right? One time I was loading a tanker truck down at a port, getting diesel fuel. And, I pulled under the racks, and it was a bottom load truck. And so you hook everything up, everything's sealed. You punch in your gallons for the tanks you're going in, then boom, it starts pumping. Well, in about, 30 seconds or a minute, all of a sudden I begin to hear a whoosh. I go, hey, I don't think my vapor recovery is causing the vapor to escape out the port it's supposed to. It's building up pressure inside the tank. If I let that thing keep going, and just kept pumping, well, I'm going to ignore it, that tank would split in two, and everything in it would go all over the place, and it would be this massive disaster. And so, whoa, this thing is not releasing the pressure. So I ran over the computer screen, and there's a little button there. You hit stop. Everything comes down to a crashing halt. Sometimes you got to release the pressure. You got to stop what you're doing and release the pressure, or else the whole thing's going to blow. And I'll tell you, sometimes things get under my skin, and I got to run over the computer and hit the stop button. Hey, we're talking about Satan no longer exists. Well, I don't think that's not an important subject. I think it's something worthy of talking about, and that's why we're talking about it. But wait a minute, I have to hit the stop button just for one day. Don't take long to fix this. We can release this pressure in just one posting. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Pastor, you shouldn't end up your series. I don't care what you say. I will interrupt my series because look. This is not the radio. This is not the radio where everybody tunes in every day and they're listening to you and they want to hear what you're continuing on. And you're working around the calendar. Oh, Thanksgiving's coming up. I'll teach on Thanksgiving and the pilgrims and things like that. This is YouTube. So things get posted. They'll get posted as a series and people are watching it after the fact. I'm happy for the people that listen to these as they come out live, people that are subscribing. I'm really glad for you. I appreciate that. But it's just going to be sitting here and people are going to be able to see it whenever. So the series is going to be intact for people to watch. Boom, 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 boom. But sometimes I'm a man. I'm a human being. You got to hit the pressure release valve. You got to hit the stop button at the terminal before the whole thing blows. Say, Pastor, okay, you got to do your thing. What in the world are you talking about? Well, this was a little while ago, and I just haven't, I've been holding on. I've been trying not to talk about this because we're doing a series. Then I interrupted my series to do something else, and there's always something coming up because the world's going crazy. So I just kept sitting on this, and it would just build and build, and the pressure was building, and I can tell this thing's going to blow. So here we are. Did you see the interview of President Trump with Laura Ingraham from Fox News? I don't watch Fox News. They're leftists now. They're phonies. They're fake news. Fox News is fake news. Same thing with Newsmax. Newsmax could be very good except for one thing. Totally sold out to the Zionist enterprise. Establishment stooges on that subject. Very good on other subjects. And I used to get them and just hold my nose for that. I can't even stomach it anymore. You're trying to find information, and who do you get it from? You go online, but I can't spend my whole life online. Some things I just want to be able to see while I'm doing something else. You have it on the TV, I'm eating something, which you can do that with your computer. But I got to honestly with you, after a while, I get sick of having the computer in front of my face. I just do. Look, that's me. But that Laura Ingalls, she gave a good interview, I have to say, even though she was from Fox News. But did you see the thing? Now, look, I got to give you a little biblical context here. I'm reading from Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 to 19. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Oh, God is love. He doesn't hate. Yes, he does. And by the way, you know why God hates? Because he is love. Some of you can't handle that truth. Well, maybe we'll talk about that sometime. But these 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look. A lying tongue. Well, the president is proving, beyond the shadow of a doubt, for all to understand, that he has a lying tongue and hands that shed innocent blood. He keeps giving support to Ukraine when he said he was going to end the Ukraine-Russian war. Well, he was going to do it the first day, wasn't he? Oh, he's not going to get us involved with foreign wars. What are we bombing Iran for then? Hands that shed innocent blood. He wants to go in this country and that country. Oh, just for little skirmishes. Hey, what happened to the Constitution? And we have to make declarations of war, which comes from Congress. Now, people complained about that when Barack Obama started making military moves, and rightfully so. Well, shoes on the other foot now. God hates a lying tongue. God hates hands that shed innocent blood. God hates Benjamin Netanyahu. You say, that blood isn't innocent. Little children? Look, I know there's a lot of bad people in that area. I'm no fan of Hamas. I'm no fan of Islamic radicals. I'm also no fan of the Zionist state, particularly under the rule of Netanyahu. It's just wholesale slaughter. And it was planned from the beginning. There was a stand down because this was part of the plan all along. By the way, I want to make a test. I want to test myself. What's the phrase? Oh, Pizzagate. Pizzagate. Hey, Pastor, what happened to you? Do you have a brain aneurysm? No? Pizzagate. I was watching this clip, YouTube, and every time the guy said Pizzagate, he'd say pizza, and they'd clip it. And he said it like 15 times during like a 10-minute thing, and it kept cutting him off. So you could tell what he's saying, but they cut it off. And I don't think the guy that was hosting him and interviewing him would cut him off. So I'm thinking, does YouTube cut that off? The word? So, Pizzagate. I'm going to listen to my own posting, see if it gets better. Is it that bad? Here on YouTube? Just curious. Trying to find that out. And by the way, that whole situation, there was, QAnon and all that stuff. There was a bunch of crazy people. But you know what? They were taking advantage of people who were watching what the establishment does and then setting them up to look like fools through the whole QAnon thing. But you know what? A lot of that stuff that not so much the QAnon stuff, but a lot of the stuff about the pedophilia and the shenanigans going on with the Podestas and all that stuff was true. It was true. Tony Podesta and his arch of hysteria. Tony Podesta and the portraits of cannibalism, which John Podesta has over his shoulder, who ran Hillary Clinton's campaign. These people are monsters. But just add a few crazy things to the truth about the scandals that are all tied in, like no doubt with the Jeffrey Epstein kind of thing, the pedophilia thing. Oh, no, this is all conspiracy. The whole thing gets whitewashed. And I think a lot of that stuff, like they said, Pizzagate, there were dungeons in the basement and there were killed children being tortured. And then, of course, that wasn't true. So they're going to use that to say, so everything they ever said and dreamt of was false. Well, see, that's what they do. That's how they operate. So Pizzagate. Just wondering if the phrase comes through. This is a test of the Jim Gallagher emergency broadcasting system. God hates a lying tongue. He hates hands that shed innocent blood. He hates those that devise wicked imaginations. You know, like Larry Ellison and Peter Thiel. Elon Musk. What is Trump embracing these guys for? You know what? He wants to embrace them and make his bed with them because they have lots of money and can help us without thinking of the broader consequences, unless he's completely in on it. I'm not going to judge that. I don't even care to. And they'll be, oh, yeah, isn't it? I knew that from way back. You know, I don't need to hear that. I don't need to hear it. You realize how foolish? The arrogance and the pride. See, this is something else that comes up here. God hates the lying tongue. God hates hands that shed innocent blood. God hates wicked imaginations. God hates feet which are swift in running to mischief. And we're told in verse 19, he hates a false witness that speaketh lies. Well, that's our illustrious president, along with pretty much most everyone in Washington, D.C., and now look at, in the last thing, and he that soweth discord amongst the brethren. I have watched now for, well, actually more than 2 years. I guess you could go back to the first Trump administration. People saying, oh, he's in on all the nasty stuff. And the guy who first notices it is the wisest and the smartest, and everyone else is stupid, and they're dumb, and they're ignorant, and they're doing the work of the devil. Do you know how evil that kind of evaluation is? Do you know where people are at? Do you know what they know and when they know it? Well, how come they don't pay attention? You know, there's some people, they don't have anything to do. They don't have a family. They're not married. They don't go to church. Some of them don't work. They're in their mother's basements looking up everything. So, yeah, they're going to find out some things. But, you know, some of the rest of us have lives. And I'm not going to go in the massive weeds of the details of these animals. They end up showing themselves sooner or later. So all this, I'm better than you, I knew this ahead of time. It smacks of me of the utter pride and arrogance of man, judging all those who fundamentally agree with you, but maybe they didn't know some details you knew. I would say to those people, you know, you ought to knock it off. You're an embarrassment to yourself. And I see it happen amongst Christians, which is the most disturbing thing to me. And so Christians will sow discord amongst their brethren out of a sense of self-importance and pride, because they think they know something that these others should have known, but they're just not as smart as me, and then they begin to loathe them. Well, I'll tell you, that person has the bigger problem, even though he may have saw some things other people were not aware of. You know, Trump being bailed out by the Rothschilds. Not everybody's going to know that. You think they report that in the news? So you got to go searching for these things. You know, some people have lives to live. So for those people that are know-it-alls, you see that happen with COVID too. Well, I knew right up front, I'm not going to do one thing. And then they just castigate everybody as idiots and morons because they're like, oh, I don't know, and then they're going to lose their job. Like, oh, maybe, and then they take it, and maybe they shouldn't have done it. But they sow discord amongst people. If they knew the same things that you knew, they'd agree with you. I got to say, it sickens my stomach. It reminds me of the annual business meeting that I used to see in evangelical churches, where it just becomes a war zone. And I was never more ashamed of the Christian witness than when I had a friend that came to know Christ as his Savior. And he came to the church that I was going to because, hey, I actually led him to the Lord, and he wanted to come. And he's only there a couple of weeks, and then they announced the annual business meeting, and he says, "Oh, I'd like to go see what that's like." Well, yeah. I'm not a member yet, so well, you could probably just sit in and watch, right? Well, I don't know. I'm trying to discourage him because I know the business meetings don't go good. The Christians consume each other. And sure enough, he went there, and it was terrible. One person was at another person's throat. And I was never so embarrassed to have a new convert that I had the privilege of leading to the Lord. See, he saw how the sausage was made in evangelical, democratic-run churches. We don't need that, brethren. We don't need that. But I don't think the Lord is too happy with Trump. The lying tongue, shedding innocent blood, devising wicked imaginations, swift to running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies. And he doesn't sow the discord amongst the brethren, but he does. He does it amongst the MAGA people. That's what I got to show you, okay? I got to get to this interview. I get sidetracked. So I'm just going to read you some excerpts, right? I saw this interview, and I was just so angry. All right. I had the transcript printed, and so Laura Ingraham brings up the affordability issue. Like, things aren't affordable. Things are crazy. What's going on? She said prices have gone up. Like she says, beef, coffee. And Trump says, but yeah, they're going to come down very shortly. In the sweet by and by. And then Ingram says, auto repairs? Is this a voter perception issue of the economy, or is there more that needs to be done by Republicans on Capitol Hill or done in terms of policy? And Trump responds, more than anything else, it's a con job by the Democrats. The bad economy is a con job by the Democrats? Now, he's going to end up saying they pick out the worst things and always talk about those, and they don't talk about the good things. And that's true. So they're going to overstate it. But even though the Democrats do overstate it, I'll concede that to Donald Trump, they do overstate it, it still stinks in the best picture. And I'm not going to prove that to you. If you don't know that, you don't wake up in the morning. If you don't know that, I assume if I want to visit you, it will be in a cemetery. Now, later on, I'm skipping a bunch. I'm just trying to hit some highlights. So Laura Ingraham says, housing costs are still out of reach. And another thing that your administration is trying to tackle. And Trump says, yeah. And Ingraham says, many Americans, the average age of the first-time home buyers are now up to age 40. First-time home buyers are 40 years old. She said, which is sad. The country and you, then Trump interrupts, I inherited that. Look, you have to understand. No, it's not my fault. There's a degree of truth to that. I mean, Trump did inherit the economy that he got from Biden, but it isn't just that. He goes, look, I inherited that, okay? Trump ends up saying this. Yeah, you pay something less than 30, and some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. He's talking about mortgage. Yeah, they're coming out with 50-year mortgage. Although they wanted to. He says all it means, the 50-year mortgage, because she was questioning him, all it means is that you pay less per month. Do you think we're stupid? That's all that means? A 50-year mortgage. Oh, we got to do 50-year mortgage. All that means is you pay less per month. Yeah, but it seems to me like you pay more months. Like 50 years worth. 50 years of a mortgage is not owning a house. That's called renting. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. Stop it! Come on! You've got a whole generation of younger people that can't afford a home. They can't afford a rent to an apartment. They can't afford to get married. They can't afford to procreate and have children. You've stolen their whole lives. I don't mean necessarily just Trump. But those evil, wicked liars in Washington, D.C., and they've been doing it for decades. Oh, Trump can solve the problem. We'll just have 50-year mortgages. Well, we might as well move to China then. Well, anyway, later on, Ingram says, and why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that? I can see, what's the time? Yeah, I'm going to have to do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm sorry because I know some of you want to get back to there's no more Satan. Well, we'll do one more on this. And I am sorry that if you're eager for that, it has to be postponed again. But I'm also, at the same time, not sorry because I have to establish what I think are the priorities that must be said now. And we'll go back to the other thing. It isn't going anywhere. And actually, we're facing an existential crisis, the likes of which I think most people are underestimating. And I think most people know it's really bad. So excuse the interruption. I mean no ill will towards anybody, but, I'm the guy who has to make these decisions, and I don't have a problem with it. So we will get back to no more Satan. Not next time, time after. Don't you worry. Right now, this takes precedence. It's not a big factor. 50-year mortgage. It might help a little bit. And then he starts saying, well, we got to work on interest rates. It's not interest rates. The problem with our young people can't afford a house. The problem with our young people can't afford a rent. The problem with we can't afford to get married. The problem is we can't even have children. We don't have a life. We don't have a future. And the problem isn't to be laid on fundamentally interest rates. Can that affect it to a certain degree? Of course it can. But that's not really the fundamental problem. Of course, you could make the argument it is in a sense because of the evil, wicked fiat money system we have under the vile Federal Reserve System. I can't talk about the Federal Reserve System now, but I want to express my utter and total contempt for it. Interest rates. He talks about interest rates. He says, but we're going to get interest rates down. But even interest rates up. The economy's the strongest it's ever been. Wait a minute. The economy is the strongest it's ever been? I don't know. I'm going to have to I'll have to ask Ward Cleaver about that one. Ingram says, and why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that? In other words, if all you're saying is true and the economy is great, why are people saying that? Good question. She did ask some good questions, and she was kind of sticking to it. He didn't want to hear it, but she kept pressing. Good for her. Even though she's from Fox News, good for her for doing this. Well, Trump responds, I don't know why they're saying that. I think polls are fake. Yeah, we can use DoorDash polls. I think polls are fake. Well, guess what? I think polls are fake too. But that's not why people are feeling that the economy isn't where it should be, because they've been reading fake polls. You know why they feel that way? They go shopping. They can't buy a house. They can't get married. They can't have children. They can't buy a car. Generation coming up feels like it has no hope. I don't want to see that. I really don't. I can't tell you how bad I feel for the younger generation. Trump's blowing it off. I think the polls are fake. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We have over $20 trillion come into our economy. And it's largely because of my election. And it's also largely because of tariffs. Even the tariff thing, it's such a disgrace. Now, I'm not against I'm not against tariffs. Tariffs can do a lot of good if they're stuck to, and there's pain that will go through. You'll go through pain with tariffs. There's no question. But if we don't bring manufacturing back, we're goners. And it's going to hurt to do it. But you either got to think short term, like every politician does, or you got to think long term. Now, you have to be a little strategic because we're teeter-tottering financially at the edge of a cliff. So you do have to kind of manage too hard, too fast, where you won't survive it. I understand that. But the greatest economy we've ever had, you talk about a dream. Well, look, I'm out of time. I've got to go. See, Proverbs 6. There are 6 things the Lord doesn't love as much as others. No, that's not what it says. There are 6 things the Lord hates. Yea, well, yeah, one more. 7 are abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. What are we to do? I'll tell you what we need to do. We put our hope and trust in Jesus Christ. In the end, God's in control. Not President Trump, not the Congress, not the Supreme Court justices, not the World Economic Forum, not the UN, none of these groups. God's will shall be done on earth as it is in heaven. And it has pleased the Lord to visit upon us this misery. But for God's people, he can do it for their good. If we'd listen to the still small voice of the Spirit of God. And if Christianity would get its house in order, it just might be possible for God to use us to the saving of this nation. And that's what we need more than anything. Look, I'll continue blowing off steam one more day. Well, I guess that happens a little bit every day, right? But on this subject, one more time, next posting, and then we'll get back to no more Satan, which will make another group of people angry, but what's a fella to do? Jim Gallagher, reminding you in the words of our blessed Lord and Savior, you shall know the truth shall make you free.